You have a beautiful day to be out here.
Let's try and get this off.
Have you ever had one collapse on you?
Yep. Yeah, it's kind of discouraging, but it usually only happens in the first or second bowl that you've made in the set of bowls that you're gonna make. started, the first assignment was to make a cylinder that was 12 inches tall. And then once we did that, it was 2 cups. That's 6 months.
Wow.
So 6 months to make 2 cups, and it took every last second of those 2 months to make 2 cups that looked alike at all. So,
but you had to do the cylinder on the wheel. You couldn't coil it.
Yeah. Oh no. I found a jar of it, uranium oxide, and I said, well, of course we've got to try this. Of course we have to. Now, one of the more common ingredients, the one that makes the blue here, is cobalt carbonate, which sounds radioactive, but it's not. So, I mean, it's kind of a disappointment there. But that turquoise is actually copper, and the brown is actually iron. And the iron that we get for pottery comes from recycled automobiles.
Oh.
And it's kind of a strange thing. I mean, I never in my life imagined wanting to have a bag of rust, but I've got 10 pounds of rust in a bag at home.
I would have thought the thing that would have surprised you is how much it costs you.
Well, it is amazing. Now, the real crazy thing is there's a Spanish variety that does come from Spain. It is redder than regular iron ore, or iron oxide. But it's because a particular bacteria lives in this stuff and eats it for dinner and likes it, which makes it redder for some strange reason, which of course brings the price up. But
okay.
I originally learned how to do this. You brought your walls up until about this point where you left a big lump of clay, and then you literally push down and into it using a flat tool. I don't have one with me, but this is a good substitute right here. And you would take it and you would bite down in, and you would push and separate the two, so that finally you had a gallery.
Got it.
But it discovered it really didn't give you that much control either. So I know how high it is and everything like that right now. And so the easiest way I have found is to build a gallery from here. Do that by literally pushing the top over and in, and then using the natural curve of your finger make a gallery, just like that.
Just like that. Yeah. Yeah. Oh man.
And I like it to have, I like this part of the gallery, the top part, to be falling off to the side like a roof on a house, because when I come to glaze it, I don't want the glaze to seep back in.
Got it.
And thus stick the lid to forever. Well, it becomes a sculpture at that point when you glazed your lid in. So, and it does leave a little lip on the inside, but you know, you could cut that out if you really wanted. I think it's acceptable.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I thought that was for the lid to sit on.
well, it is, but if it becomes a little too large, or if it's visually unacceptable, you know, there's something you can do with
can lessen it.
it. Right.
And sometimes they put lids in their cars and they will glue together.
And become a sculpture.
And become well. Actually, I beat them apart too.
Oh.
I've been known to whack at them with a piece of wood and a mallet. One time I did smash a piece into a million pieces, but it doesn't happen very often.
Stronger than you think they are. You think that Coke 6 is very strong.
So, a 3 1/4 inch lid will do just fine. Absolutely easiest way to cut clay is
I've
with
done
wire.
that. I've done it too.
And of course, your assistant in the lab mixes it all for you.
It's sweet to have an assistant, it would.
You're making it work, not here, not in the office.
No, I was out there breaking that up the other day. manufacture of clay to the glaze itself, because I mean you're taking what is essentially sand and turning it into a glass, and that happens at what I think it's 3,300 Fahrenheit is when sand actually physically melts. Well, that's difficult to get to, very expensive for fuel and for kill setup and everything like that, so we want to try and bring that temperature down. Also, it's not just silica that turns into glass. Aluminum turns into glass, lead, zinc does, boron does. So yeah, it's a great mix, and then of course certain minerals react differently to others. Some are a lot more volatile. Lithium, for example. Well, lithium is why that blue drips so much. It's because it's a lithium-based glaze. So, and calcium is a very stable glaze.
So you get an even color like this.
Yes. But there's a whole list of oxides that you can use: copper, lead, sodium, potassium, magnesium, manganese. The list goes on.
Now I keep seeing you remove the top eighth of an inch. Is there a reason for that instead of working with it?
If it's uneven, meaning up and down, usually there's nothing you can do with it.
Oh, okay.
And
So no amount of running your fingers in.
a lot of times there'll be a width change. If,
Oh.
Not always, but sometimes. And so you work that out, and when you work that out, you get the up and down change. So also, if you're saying to yourself, I only am going to make something that's 5 inches tall, like those cups there are 5 inches tall, no more, no less. I've got a gauge at the house that when I bring up the pot, I'll put the gauge next to it, and it literally will mark the pot at 5 inches exactly, and I'll cut it there. And so every last cup
So
is
uniformity.
5 inches tall.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's perfectly uniform, but as you can see, the difference between the two cups,
Oh yeah.
there's not too much of a difference.
But
there,
it's actually, I like that they're not all exactly the same. I love that.
yeah.
I think that, I mean, speaks to the originality of my
Each
old one.
boss gave me.
off, but I put 4 corners on this other bowl here, so we gotta fix that so he's not upset.
We don't want you upset. Oh, that's lovely.
It does add a neat little
I like
twist
that
to
very
it.
much.
And what you can do too as well, although I don't have you take 2 boards, two little pieces of masonite, scrunch it on either side, it becomes an oval one, and it's kind of cool then too. So,
Absolutely. Have you ever seen anyone throw a car?